Marvel Rivals has a surrender problem. Yes, that's right. This game has a problem with people surrendering in ranked. You're playing ranked, having a fairly regular game, you're pushing the enemy team pushes you back. A normal game, right? It's perfectly normal, a normal match. And then out of nowhere, after losing one team fight, or maybe even losing nothing, just out of nowhere, you get that pop-up with that annoying sound effect, you know, boom, or I can't make it, bro, I'm not even gonna try to imitate it, but you know, you get a surrender vote. That's right, one of your teammates is trying to surrender the game, to give up. The reason, it's only known to them. But, well, there are plenty of possible reasons. Maybe it's a DPS who got gapped on an off angle. Maybe it's a dive OTP getting bodied on by some e-girl supports and unable to handle the humiliation that comes from that. Or maybe it's the opposite, it's a support player that's handless against dive and they're like, bro, no peel, even though 4 people are turning around from your team to peel. That's happened before, right? Or maybe it's a tank player, right? Tank player, you guys are not immune to criticism. I'm a tank player, I'm tired of the tank glaze. Tank players are not immune to criticism. Maybe it's a tank player white peaking 5,000 million, 100,000 damage and taking poke from like legit 5 people and then dying and then they say no heals, you know? And then they just say no heals. Regardless of the reason, all of these very brave and courageous players have one thing in common. They seem to think that surrendering is a good thing for them. These guys are literally cowering, waving the white flag harder than they're trying to fight back, while admitting pretty much to getting gapped. And that's the ironic part, is that they're all players with high egos, and yet the surrender button it should be an anti-high ego option, because it's like you're surrendering to the enemy team. If you have high ego, if you're arrogant, you shouldn't press that button ever. And the funny part is they see the surrender button as a my team sucks and I have to vent this cortisol button, not an actual surrender button, as I said. They all have these massive egos and they're all ready to vomit literal novels in team chat with record-setting typing speed, of course. All of that just to end up clicking the surrender button, which is basically a I admit I am inferior to the enemy team and I give up button, right? So how do they have these massive egos thinking they're the best and then willingly press the enemy team is better than me button? Why? Something doesn't add up here. Something doesn't add up. No, of course the explanation is that these people are all posers who lack the very critical skill of being able to take accountability. Their arrogance has blinded them and led them to find self-sabotaging... I can't speak. Their arrogance has blinded them and led them to find self-sabotaging acts, such as surrendering, appealing to them. Good going, random ranked players that just tried to surrender. Give up. That's the spirit of Marvel Rivals. Just like you know, the whole game's theme and even the game's tagline, you know, ignite the surrender. Now, there are a few situations where surrendering is actually valid. Like, obviously, when you have somebody straight up throwing, and when I say throwing, I don't mean you just have somebody who's trash. I mean throwing, like, actually sabotaging the entire match, like feeding, like, he's playing Jeff and he's spitting your team out the map, you know, something like that. Yeah. Otherwise, if you have a teammate who rage quit, then yeah, it's valid, I get it. You don't want to play a 5v6, you kind of just, it's a 5v6, like, get me in my next game, that's going to be a 6v6, I get that. Maybe you have a disconnect, but then you also never know. Even if you have a disconnect, you never know if the teammate can reconnect and you can clutch up. But yeah, I find it quite funny that a lot of Marvel Rivals players complain that matches are too one-sided because of matchmaking or whatever, which is a real issue, but different, right? That matches are too one-sided, so they say matches are too one-sided. They'll tell you it's either, all matches, you know, it's either stomp or be stomped. But then they'll cast the surrender vote the moment the match isn't a stomp or be stomped. What? I don't get it. Do you want your matches to be close, where the enemy team and you show resistance, or do you want a free win where the enemy team just falls over and loses instantly? Like, you just complain about stomp or be stomped, and yet the moment the match isn't what you just complained about, you surrender. Anyway, their hypocrisy is flagrant, as always. Matches are too one-sided, but IFF after losing one round. Yeah, okay, bro. Okay, bro. No, they want matches to be one-sided for themselves. They want matches to be one-sided wins. Okay, that's what they want. When they say matches are too one-sided, they just mean one-sided loss. Okay, they don't care about. They just care about winning. Okay, and this goes back to the tilt and ranked problem. It will always the foundation of all you guys' problems. It's just win equals happy, lose equals sad. Okay, that's all it is. That's all it is. All right, that's all it is. But anyway, moving on. Have you guys had any situations where you were having a perfectly normal match and then your team straight up hard tilts for zero reason and loses the game because of it? Or games where your team has tried to surrender even though you guys were actually winning? And even maybe succeeded in surrendering and you were the only guy who said no? Because that has happened to me before. Quite often, actually. Share your experience in the comments down below, guys. And I'll see you guys later. Peace!